Welcome to the 6th episode of the Mol België Season 14 recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who we're pretty sure has a video of someone tonguing a cookbook, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon.
And the guy who leaves every table he touches sticky, David Bindley.
Good morning, Michael. Hello, horseboy.
Good morning. Have we had good weeks?
I'm still pissed about the steal.
Yeah, the teams are locked in now, as you're well aware. There was no steal in the end.
I had no say in the matter.
I mean, you kind of did, because you could have done a chaos swap, but you didn't. Thank you, Saunders, because you've basically won me the season.
Who knew Chaos Demons were so boring?
I know. We are working on a potential wrinkle for pools next year, but it's still under negotiation because we're still trying to work out how to slightly encourage an earlier steal next year.
Yeah.
We probably can't do it on a season with Michelle because she'll just go, no, that's not how the rules work. She'll rules lawyer it, I know she will. We are also pretending that we didn't record the first episode of Historians last night.
Yeah.
Which we did, and it was fab.
It genuinely feels like it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. We're not obviously going to say anything more about which one it is for a few more weeks.
Yeah.
But I was genuinely quite impressed with the material that we got out of it.
Yeah.
Anything to talk about in the preamble?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Okay. You discovered a very niche Canadian clip I spotted on Instagram earlier, Saunders?
Yeah, the children's game show had filmed one of their segments in Kelowna, and it resurfaced on Instagram, I guess, this past week, or at least went viral this past week.
I think you'll find it was Ogopogo, which is how they should have branded it. Call me 90s Nickelodeon.
YTV.
Oh, it's not even Nickelodeon.
No, it's the Canadian. It's a Canadian game show.
Even worse.
Don't you dare diss YTV. Everybody watched Pokemon at 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. If I remember right, 3:30 was and then 4 o'clock was Pokemon.
I will take your word for it, obviously.
You're not going to dispute YTV's programming schedule in the late 90s and early 2000s?
No, because this is a Canadian cul-de-sac if I've ever heard one. There is nothing to be gained from this for us.
I mean, they had the guy who would penalize the players was called the Punisher, and the contestants had to stand inside a tube, and then the Punisher would be at the top of the ladder, top of the staircase, and pour a bucket of goop into the tube to splash onto the players.
This is explaining so much about you, Logan.
Yeah, I was going to say this. Now we know why Saunders was interested in this, because he has many videos starring the Punisher, who goops someone, to be fair.
And the host was a guy named Wink Yahoo, who now didn't do anything for the past 10 or 15 years, but due to the nostalgia factor, now he appears at a lot of different Canadian Comic Cons over the past few years, where he'll be brought in to MC completely random events. I don't think Wink Yahoo was his birth name, though.
And that's what being Canadian's all about.
Jesus Christ.
So the only bits from me really in the preamble is, I'm not even sure if it's a public service announcement, but I am definitely not encouraging anyone with these words. But friend of the podcast, Alex McMillan, keeps doing Instagram stories after they watch every single episode of this season, explaining one of the challenges. This week it was the Pastel de Nata one. And every single time I reply to their story with, that seems like a silly show. And every single time, Alex waits for me to do this. So, not telling people to do this at all, but if, for example, you happen to be on Instagram and following Undeniably Alex, and you happen to see any of their stories, why not reply to any of their stories with, that seems like a silly show, whether it's relevant or not?
Happy Groundhog Day, Daniel Peak.
Correct. Because we have been searching for the new Daniel Peak, and happy Groundhog Day to Daniel Peak, just because he obviously demands our Groundhog Days. But I think Alex would appreciate anyone messaging them at Undeniably Alex on Instagram, or indeed any other social media, Maybe not on Discord because it'll be too public, but I'm sure Alex would appreciate a message saying that seems like a silly show. And something we also don't mention very often is how much I read, to the point that during COVID, I ended up having to join a website to read pre-release copies of books. And I finished my backlog of pre-release copies yesterday night with a book called How to Try Again by Steve Cam, which I want to talk about because it's a rare book for me to read in that it's non-fiction rather than fiction. But Steve created the website Nerd Fitness, and it's basically a book all about how to cope with when life throws shit at you. And far too much of that book was relatable for me. It's not out till June. But yeah, far too much of that was like, shit, I am an overthinker. Balls.
No way.
But it's a very, very good book. So I just wanted to mention it in passing, given that it was on my mind today. Going, fuck,
Yeah.
this book is talking a bit too much about me.
Who knew that our TV Warriors would have their own book club?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
happy to start a book club. I read far too many books. During, I think, 2020, I read 130 books on my Kindle.
I've sort of started reading again this year because, like, I sort of fell off for a while because the Da Vinci Code was terrible. Yeah, so I started reading again this year because, Head or Rivalry, I basically got the books after the show. And, like, none of these books are very good, but I'm reading them, which is better than the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, I read a fuckload of crime fiction in particular. I've just looked at my Kindle stats. 2020 was 66, 2021 was 138, and then back down to 61 in 2022 when I could travel again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I read a lot of books. So
Yeah.
if people do want book club recommendations, I can happily provide book club recommendations.
I don't know if has this topic ever come up before. I didn't know you read that many books.
No, I don't think it has, because I never really read for pleasure. I had sort of had the love of reading beaten out of me at school. And then I came back to it during COVID when I had literally nothing else to do. And yeah, I read a lot of books.
I mean, to be fair, Logan, that does seem like a silly topic.
Yeah, reply to all of Michael's Instagram stories about books saying, that's a silly thing to do.
Where are the slutty hockey players?
I can confirm none of the books that I have read on my Kindle have featured slutty hockey players. Although I may have sent you guys some of the more ridiculous listings on the pre-release website I use, because some of them are very thinly veiled ridiculousness. It goes all the way from the spectrum of really, really, really good, horrible crime fiction to sort of dinosaur erotica I've seen on there before.
Is that Chuck Tingle or whatever his name is, the dinosaur one?
Chuck Tingle does feature on that website, but I don't think that one in particular that I'm thinking of was Chuck Tingle.
Ah,
I tend to send the more ridiculous listings to my brother as well because my dad's on the same website. I'm like, should I sign Dad up for this one because I have his password? He's like, he will never forgive you if you send him a Chuck Tingle book or whatever. Yeah, I'll see if I can dig out some of my favorite more ridiculous ones, because some of even the covers are insane. The last one I sent him was with the caption, "All right, that's enough internet for one day." This one was called "Milking with the Minotaur."
oh,
A Minotaur dairy romance, apparently, because that's apparently a series.
It is a kink.
Can a human woman and a hunky Minotaur meet the demands of a hungry demigod, or will they cow under the pressure?
Is this when the contestants are supposed to moo?
I should appreciate the puns in this, but I absolutely do not.
now remember, Logan, a Minotaur is half bull, not half horse. You're thinking of centaur.
So previously...
Anyway, back to completely overthinking things. Previously, the mole chose 4 of the final 6 to lose their luggage as Jill did their washing for them, and all they had to do to get it back was walk along a slack line. They needed to look their best as their loved ones were coming, but it wasn't all love, as a tennis-themed challenge revealed that 2 of them were sitting with strangers. Maxim and his fake brother managed to fool Yannis, giving him 2 Passfragen, but at the execution it was Yana who was fooled, as she was executed and got to reunite with her husband at the hotel on the way home. And we begin at a bull ring with a Jill intro. It's a place where they will do battle, and we get to hear Wout do a cow impression. Completely out of context.
Perfect, no notes. Does it count as bleating?
No, it's mooing. Very different things, Bindles.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we defer to Saunders on his expertise of bleating, but Wout's only 33. He's not old enough to bleat yet, I would say.
Okay.
Maybe we need another tier below bleating, which is, are you old enough to moo?
And since we've established it doesn't count as bleating, it also doesn't count as bleating for the purposes of a bingo square.
Very true. And it's day 13 in Evora Monte, and Julie and Isabel are meeting donkeys. And Isabel says that an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
I love that the donkeys' names are incredible and absurd. I'm like, you could not find a better encapsulation of this show's entire ethos.
And they are still hula hooping by the pool, and we see that actually the guys are getting pretty good at it. I sure hope one of them isn't the mole.
Well, one of them isn't because he got sent home.
Very true. And they are all in one car for the first time, heading to Lisbon. Gilles meets them in a park and tells them they will be exploring the downtown of Lisbon by two methods. Two of them will be using their hands, while three of them will be using their feet.
I like how they were told that they will be met with open arms, and it's just a big Jesus statue.
Yeah. It's a clue. Everything's a clue on the show.
Try wrapping up a gift like that.
Would you like this gift wrapped, sir?
And Wout and Julie volunteer to be handy, meaning that the other three will be using their feet. Their task is to make one pastel de nata for 3,000 euros in the space of 1 minute. And he sends them off with the warning that the table is sticky.
And Sam.
I've got to object to Gilles calling pastel de nata the best dessert in the world, because like that really feels like it's insulting the hedgehog.
What's the best dessert in the world, Saunders?
Ice cream!
I think it's a genuinely tough question for me, because I like a lot of desserts.
I recently had limoncello ice cream for the first time.
Ooh. You do seem like a spotted dick sort of type, Michael.
Spotted dick's one of the few I don't like, actually. My freezer at home is genuinely about half full of various cakes and stuff that I've made, because I love baking, and I love eating cake, and dessert generally. What would I choose? It would probably be a chocolate fudge cake, but it would be a tough choice.
One dessert I don't like that other people do like, aside from pie, we've gone over my hatred of pie, but I also don't like cheesecake. Do not care for it.
Get out.
I mean, if you guys ever come to Manchester, one dessert that might interest you is one that Instagram served me an ad of earlier, which is a pizzeria called Chow, which is famous for its eating challenges. One of my friends tried and failed the spicy garlic bread challenge, I think, that they did a couple of years ago. They have just gone famous again because they are offering a new eating challenge, which is for 150 British pounds. You can have a wheelbarrow of tiramisu to eat within half an hour. If you succeed, you get your money back, and you get a t-shirt and a spot on the Wall of Fame.
And a stomach pump.
Yeah, and when I say a wheelbarrow of tiramisu, I mean a full-sized wheelbarrow of tiramisu. It is quite impressive.
I hear during the 1920s they used that to fuel their fireplaces.
I did see people say online when I googled this to be like, yeah, I'm not misinterpreting this, that they hope that it's made with decaf coffee because you would be wired.
Did either of you know the name of the bridge in Lisbon? The famous bridge?
The 25th of April one, only because it was mentioned on WIDM last year. It was a plot point on WIDM last year.
Because that's so true that with tourists, everyone says, well, it's that famous bridge. Well, what's the name of it? The famous bridge? The Lisbon Bridge?
The Bridge of Lisbon? So when Julie and White walk through the door, their minute starts, and when they put their hands on the table, the time stops. To win the 3,000 euros, they just have to have a pastel in the oven before the time expires. Yannis, Isabel, and Maxim will be exploring with their feet. They will get a tour of the route of the yellow tram. The more of Lisbon that they see, the more they will earn. Only the tram behind him is for Gilles only, and they have to follow the tram tracks. He'll give them a 10-minute head start, and if he catches them, they will earn nothing for the pot. And it's a route of 4 kilometers.
I just love Jill being an absolute dick and being like, no, the tram is for me. You have to run.
You sit perfectly still. Only I may ride the tram.
Do you know what the most gutting bit of this is? Is we were robbed of the banner. Because in the pre-season trailer, there is a glimpse of Gilles staring out the window on the tram, which, as soon as this challenge came up, I was going to make the banner this week. and they did not include it in the episode.
That's so rude.
It is. And also, a bit of the next time trailer for next week was actually in that preseason trailer, but cut weirdly, so it looked like Wout and Maxim were reacting to something, but they weren't. Because I've gone back and gone frame by frame to see whether they actually spoiled who the final four were, out of interest. So Julie and Wout realise that their table is hiding a maze for the eggs, because this fucking show, and there are hand spaces on the table legs too for them to turn it around with.
It's a Survivor-style table maze.
It's so good. Only this show could get away with doing that. Like, this Pastel de Nata challenge is just so creative.
Yeah.
One theme I've noticed with this season is just these enclosed rooms that end up being like their own escape room type challenges.
That's usually how escape rooms work, Logan.
But I mean, just like how it's just a very enclosed space where they're able to come up with just a really unique way to utilize that space.
How are you guys with table mazes?
Table maze is fine. Slide puzzles notoriously terrible.
What? I thought we were great at slide puzzles, Michael.
Slide puzzles are the one thing that both me and Saunders are incredibly weak at. Because I just don't care enough for the meta of a slide puzzle.
And that's why you're both keeping me around when we do Survivor together.
Yeah, pretty much. I just don't give a shit enough. I can do jigsaws, I can do table mazes, I just don't care about slide puzzles.
It's just nice they managed to turn that one Breath of the Wild dungeon into part of a challenge here.
And they finally made Breath of the Wild interesting.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's ever come up on the podcast either. Breath of the Wild, beautiful game. Pretty boring game, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom, much better.
Nah.
Needs more Navi.
Tears of the Kingdom takes all of the interesting bits of Breath of the Wild, makes it challenging again, and actually lets you have fun exploring. Like, the creating your own vehicles and stuff is genuinely incredibly fun, especially when you get the wacky Hyrule engineering that came out when the game did.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing I did in Breath of the Wild was like grabbing one of the Koroks. You know, one of the ones that like you had to take across the map to somebody. And I took him to like this big long cliff and basically just threw him over the edge.
Well, that's the fun thing. The Korok challenges in Tears of the Kingdom, essentially, if you need to get them to the other side of the map, why not build a catapult?
Yeah.
And yeet them across the map. And just hear their little screams. And I know we're trying not to ask this question too much this season, but I'm going to be inspired by Dennis from Café de Mol and say, where would you want to be as a mole in this challenge? Would you want to be on the Pastel de Nata, or would you want to be on the sightseeing side?
Pastel de Nata. Like, A, it's more fun. B, you know, it's basically all or nothing. And it's a harder challenge as well. Like, aside from the eating, I would say the tram challenge is significantly easier than the Pastel de Nata.
Yeah, and also the sightseeing challenge is worth far more money. Like, my conservative estimate on the sightseeing challenge is about $6,000, I think.
Yeah.
It was plausible for them to win, at least.
I think Wout is the first person I've seen to lick and motorboat a book.
I was very insulted that you ever thought I was going to make Wout licking the cookbook the banner this week.
Then I saw the later scene, and I'm about 90% sure what you're going to use as the banner.
What do you think it is, Saunders? Because I've sent it to Bindles.
I'm going to say when they're doing shots after this challenge.
Which one in particular?
Isabel.
Correct. It's Isabel doing a shot with Yannis looking very disgusted in the background. And I will also say, I was being slightly mean on Discord when I pointed out that Yannis's face would be covered by our logo. And I neglected to mention that, obviously, in our version, I flipped the photo so Yannis's face is not covered by the logo. Because I can do that. There's nothing in the rules that says I can't flip an image, and it will count if people pick that one, unfortunately. I'm hoping Fuzzy doesn't pick it. I know that a few people have picked it already because they are 100% on my wavelength. But yeah, I can flip photos.
You can tell it's a really obvious banner when Logan fucking Saunders gets it.
Yeah. I will also point out it is not the first time I have horizontally flipped a banner to make it work. I do sometimes discard them because they don't look right if they're flipped, and people's faces or whatever will be covered by the logo. But it's not the first time. I think the Cambodia premiere I flipped Sophie's image to make it look better from memory. I certainly did one in Cambodia. So Wout and Julie get their eggs out with 37 seconds left on the clock, and Julie starts separating the eggs, but it costs them over half of their remaining time. The runners have a lead of about 700 meters by the time they get to the second board, which is that they get to sit down and sample the local cuisine. They can choose local specialties to eat, each worth a certain amount of money. Anything that they order, they must eat. With what they order, they earn 900 euros if they eat it. And luckily for them, Yannis is basically a garbage can.
No comment.
Slightly preempting the inevitable eulogy that he gets at the end of this episode, I think you could make an argument that Yannis is the big character of this season.
Yeah.
He's certainly the sort of character that we latch on to in a season like this. Because he was so unashamedly not the mole in most of the later episodes that he was just blatantly having fun and blatantly just reacting in hilarious ways to the insanity that is this program.
He's probably the closest to a Lloyd character in terms of somebody who makes it far that everyone has just completely ruled out.
So, as Saunders said, they do have a laugh when Wout tongs the cookbook by playing Let's Get It On. And they spot two blue buttons which must be simultaneously pressed to release the milk that they need for the pastel de nata, and Wout pours it in with 15 seconds left. For the sugar, all they have to do is press one button, but unfortunately, the button is very high up and requires someone to do a handstand while still touching the table.
Doesn't require them to do that, though, because they could just let go.
I mean, they could, but at that point they had like 15 seconds left.
Yeah.
And it looked a lot cooler.
Yeah.
I will also say that regardless of whether it's Wout or Julie who's the mole, and between the three of us, we think it's Wout or Julie, whoever it was blatantly, sneakily took fingers off the table here. They blatantly drained that timer.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way they intended for them to only have, 19 seconds left after the first step out of 5.
No. And whoever it was almost certainly kept looking at everything round rather than touching the table. So they started with about 44 seconds and then got it down to around 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, Julie even lost time just by briefly fixing her hair, which could be such a subtle movement that nobody would even notice.
I mean, I do kind of get that it might have been like a flaw in the challenge design that her hair got in the way when she was opening the book. But I don't know sort of how you account for that without ruining the surprise of the challenge. Like, the best you could do is be like, okay, you're in a working kitchen, you've got to wear like a hairnet or something. But I don't know if that would spoil the surprise.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually didn't, if nobody ate that pastel de nata that they made, because
Yeah.
something tells me that there wasn't a lot of food hygiene there.
It was not food safe. Somebody ate it. Oh no, somebody got food poisoning on the Mol België.
Yeah, I suspect it was more do the steps rather than actually make a pastel de nata, because the one thing you would know about baking is it's very precise measurements, and I would say they did not very precisely measure that milk.
They put so much milk in that dropper. They only needed 150 ml.
I would say it was still water when it came out of the oven.
Yeah. I will also say I broke a Portuguese food rule and used cream in my pastel de nata.
You didn't. You monster.
I did. Yeah. The recipe I used was 250 ml of milk and 100 ml of pouring double cream.
The recipe I used was just going down to Costco.
Your Costco has them?
Yeah.
Interesting. I've not seen any in our Costco.
That's because your Costco sucks.
It does.
We don't even have a Costco.
I've been outside of a Canadian Costco, I'll have you know. Multiple
Probably in
Canadian Costcos.
Vancouver.
Yeah, there's one right by the Canucks Stadium.
Yep, BC Place. Yeah, or Rogers Arena. Yeah, there's one there.
I was going to say BC Place, but I wasn't confident that I was right with it.
It's always a ridiculously long lineup at that one if it's before a game or a concert. I haven't even tried to go into that one. And then they changed it to where you have to have a membership if you even want to use that concession area at Costco now.
That's always how it's been over here.
Not in Canada, though. That was a fairly recent rule change. Like the past year, I think.
$18 isn't bad for 12.
Yeah.
Gotta love Costco. I know we talk a lot about wanting Tim Hortons to sponsor the podcast, but I'd be happy to be sponsored by Costco. I bloody love Costco. It's the cheapest place around here for fuel, if nothing else.
Mm.
This is really sounding like a commercial right now.
Sponsored by our friends at Costco. Please, we will let you sponsor us, Costco.
That seems like a silly commercial arrangement.
Well, we've done it with Timmy's and it worked out so well last time. How would you have done with the food portion of this challenge?
Like the eating?
Yeah.
Not great.
I can't eat when I have to run. I would want to be out of there as quickly as possible. I don't think I would have even tried any of the food on the menu.
Yeah.
Even in everyday life, I don't like to. It's just not a good combination. I don't know why they would want to do that during the challenge. I know the incentive is that there's money on the line, but it feels like such an obvious trap during the
Yeah.
challenge.
It's obviously the high value bit of this challenge and where you can make the most money. But
Hmm.
also, if I was told the rules that anything you order and don't eat comes out of your steaks, I would see that as a massive trap.
Yeah.
I would say you definitely don't go anywhere near the highest value item. You probably don't go anywhere near the second highest value item either, and you just drink a lot of glasses of water if you need to.
You can always like find a public toilet along the route if you need to.
Well, exactly. Whereas if you're going to be running uphill and vomiting, that's a bit less appropriate in a tourist city, I would say. So they spot Gilles in his tram and ate €700 worth of stuff, but left 300, meaning their stakes for that bit of the challenge are €400, and now they have to sprint uphill. At the halfway point is a tram stop where one or more contestants can board, but they won't be able to win any more money. And they decide to leave Isabelle behind, and she has a nice chat with Gilles, where Gilles says there's 2 athletes you've left behind, and she says, yeah, Maxim's one. Complete dick moment from Isabelle there. I really hope she makes the final 3 because I am fascinated by Isabelle.
Like I know we love Yannis on this podcast, but honestly, Isabelle is just as good.
Isabelle is sneaky funny.
Yeah.
Isabelle just does not give a fuck about any sort of common courtesy, and it's delightful. So the boys open up a bit of a lead again thanks to the traffic and find another attraction to take a photo at, only worth €400 this time, as Isabelle is on the tram. Wout finds a foot-operated button for the mixer, and they manage to mix it attached to a light shade. The last step is to plug in the oven using an extension cord.
Not just an extension cord, a chain of extension cords.
Yes, exactly. Yannis and Maxim get a guide to tell them about a topic that they choose. They can pick 2 of the 3 because Isabelle's on the tram. The more that they remember, the more they will win. Each question answered correctly is worth €500 for the pot. The topics are the tram itself, Lisbon itself, and Pastel de Nasa.
And potent potables.
And they get 1 of the 2 questions they're asked correct, because Maxim can't remember what the electric tram is called, which is Electrico.
It's called Yellow Tram. The Yellow Tram is called Yellow Tram.
I wonder, with Yannis going home, having gone all in this week, whether he was on Maxim.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because he felt like he was testing Maxim with his question. Because they could help each other. I'm sure that Yannis remembered that it was called Electrico. I think he was deliberately testing Maxim here, and Maxim didn't give the correct answer, and then he's like, yep, I know who my mole is.
Why did the city tour guide look just like Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Because it's a clue. Everything's a clue.
Do you think they made a good decision having Isabelle get on the tram?
I think it was probably because they thought that she was going to get caught by the tram, and if anyone got caught, they lost all the money.
Yeah, like, do you think, say, losing €900, the 200 things for the photos, and then an extra question with the tour guide, do you think that's a good enough, like, trade-off for having the tram stop and wait for a little bit so you can get a little bit further ahead?
I think they had to stop that tram
Yeah.
with where the tram stop option was, because they were like 50 meters ahead of him by the tram stop, if that. They were not going to win that challenge if that tram did not stop. So I would say, yeah, I'd say it's the correct trade-off.
Yeah.
So the last photo is with a street performer, but they fail and have to sprint. The end point is another tram stop at the top of a very big hill. And they manage to reach the tram stop in time for a total of €1,900 of, I'm saying, 6,000 for the challenge. Obviously, the eating bit's a bit open-ended, but I think 6,000 is probably a nice, round, correct-ish total that they could have plausibly got.
Isabel did not was not optimistic about that 1900 getting into the pot.
Nope. She was the perfect person to be on that tram with Jill, though.
There's no way Yannis can run uphill.
Statler and Waldorf figure. So the group then reunites, and Wout and Julie were too slow, meaning they earned nothing of €3,000 at their side of the challenge. I mean, so much sabotage happened in that Pastel de Nata challenge, regardless of whether it's Julie or Wout. It's Wout, but
Yeah.
like so much sabotage happened on that side.
Yeah, that challenge was dead the moment it took them 20 seconds to put their hands on the fucking table.
Yeah. And this is the suspect list question this week, is what side of this challenge the mole was on, hands or feet. And you know where we all sit.
Yep.
On our hands.
Yep. So in the evening, they sample a Portuguese sour cherry liqueur called ginger and try and do it without their hands for some reason, and much screenshotting ensued.
I just think it's nice they try and do shots without their hands, and then they try and sing karaoke without a key.
Did you watch the behind the scenes out of interest?
No.
So there was a lot more karaoke in the behind the scenes, including another appearance by Pump It Up.
Yep.
Which is interesting, because that feels like it's a clue now. It's appeared far too many times. There's at least 3 or 4 appearances of that song this season now, between the regular show and behind the scenes.
That's odd.
Including it being sort of part of the scene where Yannis punched Treese in the face.
Huh.
That was It's All Coming Back to Me Now, but the other car was listening to Pump It Up in that scene. This show doesn't do coincidences, apart from all the M&M clues. It feels like this is far too much to be a coincidence at this point.
And we've got confirmation of the date where this was filmed now.
We do.
Because in the karaoke bar, there's like a tennis match playing on the screen, and you can see like the names of the 2 players. I looked it up. Those 2 players have only ever played each other twice. So they played, like 10 years ago, and then they played at the Erste Bank Open last October. So that karaoke scene took place on Monday, October 20th.
So that's interesting, because I think we were maybe led to believe that the season started in late September.
Mm.
So if day 13, I think this was the 20th of October, then that's what, 8th of October is the start date?
Yeah, it's not too long after Aaron Samuels' day.
Also, not to criticize the names of tennis players, but like Talon Greek Sport does feel like the sort of name J.K. Rowling would have come up with for a wizard from Athens.
So the next morning, they leave Lisbon already for a little town with a very striking building in the centre. Each of them is blindfolded in the centre of the bullring, where they'll be battling for €5,000 and the 1 exemption this season.
You know what I want to do when I'm hungover is be blindfolded and then have to ride a mechanical bull repeatedly.
Oh, we know.
What do you think is going to happen on the Monday after the finale, Saunders? I've already arranged it with Jill. He's going to get you plastered on the Sunday night, and then he's going to make you ride a mechanical bull in Crotomat.
Just back to the karaoke thing just for a second. I love that they sing "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme," and then like we get the whole thing about there's not a soul out there, no one to hear my prayer. I'm like, you've just seen the giant Jesus. Like there is one out there who will listen.
I do think it's interesting that they only did 1 challenge in Lisbon.
Yeah.
I wonder whether that was because they didn't want to push their luck and get recognised, especially with it being so late in the season. It just feels like they would have done maybe at least a full episode in Lisbon.
Yeah. I did notice the Lisbon tourist, like the Lisbon City Council or whatever, did get a special thanks in the end of the episode. So maybe they weren't going to do any and then got invited or something.
I don't know, because it's interesting because the Pastel de Nata is associated with the region around Lisbon, but we had a Pastel de Nata kind of theme challenge in a region that wasn't associated with Pastel de Nata.
Yeah. But then again, that sandwich they had to eat in the tram challenge, that's associated with Porto. So
yeah. It just surprised me a little bit that they only did 1 challenge in Lisbon.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to the Algarve for the final 2 episodes, I'm presuming now. Which I would have expected them to go to anyway, given the sort of thing that we already know they're going to be doing there. But yeah, Lisbon seemed like it is the sort of place that they would have done at least a couple of episodes, or at least 1 episode.
Yeah. Like I don't mind that they only did one challenge there because I think if they'd done more there, it probably would have felt like they were too similar to what WIDM did last year. But like what we got there was really really fun.
It's like with the Amazing Race too, where it's always whenever they go to Portugal, it's always Porto, Lisbon, Sintra, and nowhere else. At least here we're getting like all of these other smaller communities that wouldn't really be featured on a major competitive reality show.
Actually, we only got one challenge in Porto too, didn't we?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also, just going back to the pastel de nata being the best dessert in the world, I believe that is the opinion of one Mr. Gil da Costa, because he did say it in the kickoff Café de Mol special that he joked that pastel de nata was the only reason they went to Portugal. I'm wondering whether that was an allusion to who the mole is, though, because both Wout and Julie were in the pastel de nata group in episode 2 and doing pastel de nata here.
We have two moles. Corbin Burnson was right after all these years.
Well, my theory, not to spoil it too much at the end of the episode, is that Julie is the winner, I think. So maybe he just pointed it out to point out who the mole and the winner are going to end up being. The only two people who do two challenges themed around pastel de nata.
2 challenges so far.
So 2 hours beforehand, they were face to face with a bull. Luckily for them, with their hangovers, a mechanical one. One at a time, they rode it and had to stay in as long as possible. The person who fell off first is at risk of elimination from the challenge and is awarded a red cloth on their shoulder. Julie fell off after 23 seconds, Isabel after 25, Yannis after 35, Maxim after 37, and Wout after 39. Non-leading question, especially for Saunders, how do you think you would have done at riding a mechanical bull?
Is it like riding a horse, Logan?
Hopefully Saunders would not ride a mechanical bull in that way.
Jeez. I don't know, because I don't have the best balance, but I may have just hung on just out of fear of not wanting to fall off, so that may have worked to my favor. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd be the worst, but I don't think I would be the best at it either.
I would have done pretty well.
Yeah. Well, you got a low center of gravity, haven't you?
Yeah. Low center of gravity and tight thigh muscles.
A winning combination.
As I've always said.
So whoever has the red cloth has to leave the arena, and whoever leaves the arena has no chance to get the exemption. To save themselves, they can place the red cloth on someone else, and Julie chooses Wout. Interesting.
Yeah. The evidence is starting to get pretty damning here.
Against Julie or Wout?
For Wout to be the mole, given that multiple players gave him the red cloth as if to say, well, if somebody's going to get the exemption, you'd want it to be the mole.
I think if they were briefed properly that it was going to go down to 2 people, then you need to stop the mole being one of those 2 people, because there's obviously going to be some sort of vote, dilemma, something like that. You don't want the mole to be in a power position for that, I would say.
Unless you're trying to test the mole late in the game.
It's basically the Cambodia challenge we all hated, except done competently.
Yeah.
Like, I like that, it's picked by a challenge rather than, the mole gets to decide who doesn't get to win.
Yeah, and specifically Chain Gang at that. Because, again, we said it last week, they're rerunning the fun for certain classic old challenges they've done before. And this is a very classic one and the only good thing that Mole US has ever given us.
It's funny how sort of Chain Gang sort of disappeared for ages and ages and ages. And then you're waiting for one, and then all of a sudden, like 2 of them turn up in the space of 2 weeks, because Finland did it a couple of weeks ago as well.
With old people at a retirement home?
Well, I'm sort of like catching up on the Finnish season, which is, speaking of spending too long in one location, they're up to episode 5 now, and I think they haven't left Rhodes in Greece.
Oof.
Yeah, which is like, even by the standards of Greek islands, not really an interesting one. But like, they did Chain Gang in a fort, but because the cast is so old, like the average age is about 40, like genuinely, like they're old. I think there's like one person under 30 in the entire cast, and there's like multiple 50, 60-year-olds. Like, because the cast is so old, they decided, we're going to do Chain Gang, but the entire challenge has to have a 15-minute time limit. So you've got to get all 8 people to the chain and back in 15 minutes. And it was basically, unlock yourself or take 3 jokers. So it's not even like a full exemption. So I got 15 minutes to get everybody through it, which doesn't leave a lot of time for arguing. But also, just in case the argument was too strenuous, they get a Rian bench to sit on while they argue.
Well, in case of their arthritis, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say like they've got no idea how to make them all, because like I think sort of like past seasons you can see they're kind of getting like they have moments where they're like not great, and then they have moments where they're like really really good. But this season kind of feels like it's not working for me. Like we're 4 episodes in, and they had an episode where they did 3 challenges, and the best one by a country mile was a takeoff of one of the worst challenges Netmol did. So episode 4, which just aired like last week, the week before with the chain gang, the other challenge in that episode was 4 of you are going to ride like a little toy train through the town. Like you know one of those like the cars that looks like a train that like the tour guide sort of train things. 4 of you are going to ride that through the town, and you got to keep an eye out for like color coded witches hats or traffic cones or whatever you call them, sort of just on the roadside, and then you relay them by walkie-talkie to the other 4 players who have to put like the colors in the right order on a map. And like the people who have the map know where all the corners are, so they know if there's things that have been missed. And that's the entire challenge. There's no twist or anything. It's just like 50 euros for every color you get right. They're like 60% of the way to a really fun idea, but then they just like lose the bit that makes it a mole challenge, if that makes sense.
Well, the interesting thing is, the last time I saw Chain Gang was on Swedish Traitors.
Oh,
They did it as a proper challenge last season, but with anyone who escapes having the option of taking a shield or a gold bar.
all right, that's a good idea.
And they did it with like 19 people.
I think I saw a gold bar when I was at a museum in Reykjavik.
No, you saw a matte bar.
I thought, I mean, they said it was gold.
It's interesting because Chain Gang was basically the sort of middle era, every single reboot season of a Mole does it challenge, in the same way that like skydiving was the original version of a Mole. Everyone does this challenge.
Yeah.
And then it's just disappeared and migrated to Traitors.
Yeah. It's like how they went for after like the skydiving and the hostage rescue and all those sort of like really early challenges they used to do. That they went through a phase there for a little while where like every season seemed to have a challenge where the entire thing was, okay, argue over whoever gets an exemption, and if you don't pick somebody, you lose money. The one where you had to like get a unanimous decision. And I'm like, Chain Gang is better than that, but
yeah, Chain Gang's fun.
Yeah, like Chain Gang's fun. Like I don't mind seeing the old challenges again when they're interesting. Like some of the old challenges, I'm fine with never seeing again. But like things like Chain Gang, Hitchcock Hotel, those sort of challenges, you don't mind if they turn up again because they always like deliver.
Chain Gang especially, because Chain Gang tends to be in ridiculous locations.
Yeah.
Because WIDM did it in the Suicide Forest. France did it in the middle of a lion-infested paddock. You have Papa Bear's Slaughterhouse from Argentina. I can't think of another challenge that has been done in so many seasons that has so many different locations off the back of it as well.
Yeah.
So many different themes to it. Because the France one especially is insane. The fact that they had to release anyone who was still locked there because of the threat of lions at midnight is perfect.
Not perfect for the lions. They went hungry that night.
What was the last sort of mole challenge that everybody seemed to be really interested in doing? Like, is it still Path of Temptation?
I don't know, because, I mean, we haven't really had that many reboots in recent years, ignoring Netmol.
Yeah.
It probably is still Chain Gang, because I think pretty much every reboot premiere season did Chain Gang.
Yeah.
Even going into like the early 2020s.
Mm.
So, Wout will have to leave if he can't guess that it was Julie within 5 minutes. If he has to leave, they will lose €1,000 from the stakes of the challenge. Maxim is the only one who tells the truth about how long he lasted. Julie and Isabel both vastly overestimate their time and completely give away that they vastly overestimated their time because they start pissing themselves.
Yeah, it's not working out well when you double what everyone else has said. So yeah, Isabel, we don't think you of all people lasted twice as long as everybody else on the mechanical bull.
She just told the bull it wasn't allowed to use the iPad for 6 months and it behaved.
Yeah. And then it remained completely still.
Honestly, in Wout's position, I would have probably picked Isabel because I'm like, there is not a chance that you survived longer than anyone else around here.
And then I like how Julie had to try and justify it, say, well, I think women are just better at riding mechanical bulls, and I had horses, and then Yannis just immediately shoots it down and says, "You're comparing a wide bull to riding a horse. It's not the same thing."
I mean, it's not the same thing, but like I could see like the logic behind her argument.
Yeah, she has to say something.
Yeah, like it was a better alibi than we usually get in this sort of challenge. Do you think, like, assuming Wout is the mole, do you think he knew the results,
Yes.
or did he have to like play it genuinely?
I will say there is a theory on Discord that Gilles did the exact same thing that he did with the Mexico briefcase game.
Oh,
In the Mexico briefcase game, he tipped Peter off to who had the lowest value case by where a word appeared in his sentence. I believe his intros may have given away via the number of words which chair the person who put the red cloth was sat in.
huh.
That is not the wow hint that I'm going to talk about in this episode, but yeah, there is certainly a theory on Grant's Discord that that was the case because it corresponded with the number of seats along, apparently. So he chooses Julie as the person who gave him the red cloth and is correct. The second round was to memorize the parts of a cow that are highlighted on a graphic, and each one they got wrong made the bull go up a gear. This time we don't get to see who had the cloth, but they placed it on Yannis's shoulder.
How would you have done it memorizing the beef?
See, I think this would have been more in my wheelhouse in the first round because memorization is something you can do quickly. I mean, they got to see it for like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean, they had like 25 different parts of the cow to memorize, but 2 of them were head and legs. Like, you're gonna know those ones.
yeah.
I think you certainly could memorize a great deal of those cow parts in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I've had to teach this lesson a few times. I think a few of my students have taken that specific class where it's like the different cuts of meat for a cow. So
Yeah.
so I think I think if I saw the graphic for 10 seconds, it would refresh my memory, and I'd be able to memorize a chunk of them.
Yeah, because I don't know what experience you guys have of like proper butchers, but I've seen that sort of a poster quite frequently in butchers in the UK.
Yeah.
It tends to be a fairly common poster in butchers of here's what each steak cut is and all that sort of stuff.
We just get the fish chart in every fish and chip shop.
So Yannis stayed on for 65 seconds, Wout claims 85, Isabel claims 35, and Maxim refuses to give a time or indeed any information whatsoever, but we see that he lasted 32. Maxim played this interestingly,
He pled the fifth.
because I would have thought completely stonewalling it would have been an obvious I wasn't the slowest person move. This is probably the most suspicious episode for Maxim, I would say. Just as it's probably the most suspicious episode for Julie, not that either of them are the mole.
No. It's funny that like neither of them are that suspicious, but they're not so unsuspicious that you can rule them out. Like, I mean, aside from the clues and everything pointing to Wout, like if we didn't have the clues and everything, I think I would be like completely up shit creek here. And I kind of like not having an idea.
Yeah, I went into the season knowing I was going to be really pig-headed about this and probably stick to the same mole until they go home. So I'm not sure I would have been swayed, but it would have been a tougher choice. So he chooses Isabel, who only lasted 21 seconds and is correct again. And the final round required them to identify whether the sounds they were hearing were a cow or a candidate, and if a candidate, which candidate. The worse they do, the faster the bull moves, and Wout again is given the red cloth. He lasted 80 seconds, Yannis claims 75, and Maxim claims 97, but he only lasted 65.
Are we doing moves just to get Fuzzy's bingo square or not?
Hell no! So the final round is Maxim and Wout, and they have the choice of the 5,000 euros or the exemption. They will decide what it'll be and who takes it, and they are chained to one long chain, long enough so only one person can reach the pedestal. The other 3 are in the stables. Just outside of one of the stables is a button which will explode the podium. To open the gates, their combined heart rate must be higher than 400.
Is it really a chain game if there's only 2 people in the game?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
4 is a party, 3 is a crowd, 2 is a gang.
Yeah. Also, we would absolutely race through the first bit of the trio bit of this challenge because Saunders would have a heart rate of over 400 from just being in the stable, obviously.
Obviously.
I was waiting for that joke.
We'd struggle a bit more with the second part of it where we have to lower your heart rate while being in the stable.
Yeah.
So Wout and Maxim don't trust each other at all, which is good timing given the losers are already into the second room where they have to lower their heart rates to below 210 combined. And they then get to the third room, which demands a heart rate of 480. Wout and Maxim completely stalemate it, and when the button is pressed, they earn no exemption and €0 of 5,000 for the challenge, €1,900 of 14,000 for the episode, and €14,170, 84,600 for the season so far.
What do you think about not really having rice stallions a part of this season again?
Well, Belgium doesn't really do them anymore, to be honest. I think the last season they had 2 rice stallions in the season was Germany. And like, even then, I think from memory, Germany, we were counting like the exemptions to the bunker game as one of them. Like, because Canary Islands, the only one is the cuckoo clock. I think Arizona, there's only one that gets one. There's only one in Sicily. Like, it's been a while since there's been like a real feature of the show. Just like, I think they think the knowledge things, like, you can see what the mole did, is like makes for better TV, which it makes for better TV, but it's not quite as powerful as an advantage. So it's kind of like hard to find the middle ground between those two.
Yeah, what I'd say for exemptions is exemptions tend to come at the expense of the group. And yes, it's fun to make them be a bit selfish, but especially in a season like this where a lot of the knowledge and the personal advantages like Yokas and stuff have come from being at the expense of the group, I don't think they could have got away with more than one exemption where it comes at the expense of a group when they want the good vibes.
Yeah, it's such a contrast to, say, the American version of the mole, where in those days that was like peak of Survivor fame, right? Where each week somebody has immunity and somebody else gets eliminated, and the American version of the mole adopted that with each round somebody has an exemption or immunity and somebody else goes home. So it's interesting to see this contrast of a different franchise that very rarely utilizes some form of immunity within
Yeah.
the game.
Well, even in the very old school versions that were based off the OG Belgian one, they didn't really do many exemptions.
Yeah, like I think the UK only did like 2 or 3 a season.
Yeah, I don't even think either of them had more than 2. I think maybe one of them had 1 and one of them had 2, I think.
Yeah.
There's certainly a low amount.
I think the first season of WIDM had 2 offers.
Yeah, it's mostly just the US one that sort of did it every week because, they needed something to sort of hide that the challenges weren't that interesting. And then sort of when the US was moderately successful, Australia started copying them and like coming up with exemptions sort of every week, every second week. But those might be the only 2 franchises where it's like a really big feature of the show.
I know I can say this is the only person outside of production who actually owns an exemption, but I don't think exemptions are that good a mechanic overall. I mean, putting them later in the season is probably better because most people by this point, you'd assume, are on the right mole. I'm assuming that Yannis is the last person to go home without being on the right mole. So it is a genuine advantage. Whereas if you put it early in the season, you might only be saving yourself for 1 round.
And putting it at Final 4 always seemed like a bit of a just always determine the outcome of a season far too frequently.
Yeah.
In a lot of mole seasons worldwide. Just because on one hand you have the heightened stakes, but on the other hand, it's like giving a hidden immunity idol at Final 5 or Final 4 in Survivor, where the numbers are just too small for it to really be truly fair within the game.
My favorite late game exemption mechanic is one that WIDM did and then went away from, which is you win an exemption for the Final 4 at Final 5, and you have to defend it at the Final 5 test. So you have to still get through the Final 5 test to be able to cash that exemption in. Because then that's a 2-episode narrative rather than it just sort of sucking time away from something more interesting.
Yeah, and there's that one Australian season where they managed to have 2 exemptions at Final 4, and I'm like if both of those exemptions are won by people who aren't the mole, then you end up with Saree basically getting voted out because she doesn't have a hidden immunity item. I think exemptions work much better in moderation, where they're like
Yeah.
an actual event rather than just something that happens every week.
I think if there's something we can say about the American version of the Mole, they do not understand moderation.
Yeah. I mean, you could have stopped that at something we don't understand about America. Hello, Jordan.
So, it is time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the Mole. Who have enough seats goes home except for the Mole who can never go home. Isabel says she's glad no exemption was won because her chances increase, but she'd have taken it if she was there, no hesitation. She says that the Mole knew one of the dishes was disgusting. Yannis says the Mole benefited from staying in the arena. You buy a lot of time by forcing a deadlock. Isabel said they should have ordered everything and then she didn't have a bite. Wout says Maxim stopped talking. It was a weird tactic. Yannis told him that he thought Maxim's yellow tram answer was weird. Maxim says it's very convenient what happened to the pastel de nata, just missing out on the time. As Mole, you can lift your hand and nobody knows about it. And Julie says that it was super important to touch the table straight away, and Wout was wandering around, wasting time. Gilles says that it was an intense afternoon and an intense evening. Each goodbye gets harder. Tomorrow only 4 of them will be left, travelling on to the Algarve. Yannis is the first name typed in, and unfortunately, he gets an instant red.
The rare insta-red on the Mole.
I was saying this to Bindles because obviously we were discussing after Historians yesterday because he knew that Yannis went. Obviously, it's a loss of me on the pool team, but after week 1, I didn't really think he was the Mole. So it's more of a loss for the entertainment of the season and the fact that he was my instant 0-pointer every week. Like I am guaranteed points and quite a few points on suspect list for most of the early weeks because Yannis was always my 0-pointer.
I only had him as my 0-pointer once.
I think it was maybe 4 of the weeks he was my 0-pointer. And that was only because Abigail was still in the game.
I had Vincent week 1, and then the rest of Logan's team immediately on top of that. 1 week of Julie, 1 week of Yannis, and then I've been Maxim as my 0-pointer ever since. And that's more just by default.
Maxim has been your minimum.
Mm.
And Yannis says he's speechless. He went all in and lost. He really thought that he was right. Isabel said she thought he was so imposing when he first turned up in that suit. Wout described him as looking like Legolas. He drove so well and so fast. And Julie found it so funny how serious he was being at the interrogation, as did we all.
Your partner?
So, next time, there is cycling, crows, they fondle some nuts, Julie has a spider on her leg, and Maxim falls from a great height. And that is the scene that is in the preseason trailer as well, is Maxim falling from the great height.
Huh.
So I knew that challenge was coming, but then immediately afterwards there is a shot of Wout and Maxim looking up, and I'm like, does that spoil 2 of the final 4? On the pool, Bindles, as we have alluded to, is doing very well this season. He still has his full team of Isabel, Julian, Maxim, and as a result, 2 finalists already.
And how many people does Logan have?
Yeah, Logan's still got 0, so I'm not shaming myself.
Yeah. And how many people do you have?
Well, all my hopes rest on the definitely Mole Wout, so...
And how many people do you have?
I have 1, but that's all it takes to win, as you well know. Can win from this position. Someone from your team's going home next week, which is all that matters. On First Suspicions, only the Flemish public had Yannis in first after week 1. Sucks to be them. While Jeroen, Andrew, Jack, Christopher, and Abe all had him in 10th or 11th. Interestingly, on First Suspicions, Yannis' departure is actually the biggest shake of the season so far, as a lot of people either had him high up or very low down. We have another new leader, as Tim takes the lead with a score of 13, with me and Bindles in joint second with 14. While on the other end of the scale, Sandra still brings up the rear, but is joined by Brian this week with a score of 25. And you'll be pleased to know that Logan is only 1 point ahead of them on 24.
I'm not last.
You're not. Again, 2 weeks on the trot, Saunders. I'm worried about you. My team average now drops to 4.4, 4 dead if you include us. When the adjustments come into play, Bindle's team is now on 2.53, and mine is 2.40 out of 4. Maxim's now on 2 dead out of 4, followed by Isabel on 2.33, Wout on 2.4, and Julie on 3.27. And as always, you can do the suspect list each week at suspectlist@rtbwars.com or the link in our bio. And as I've already said, the question this week is what the Mole did in Lisbon, either pastel de nata or race the tram. I will also say, as is traditional, next week's question is going to be who the winner is. So start having a think about who you think the winner is.
Not Logan.
Yeah, not Logan this year. Sorry, Saunders. Talking of Logan not winning things, we also have another suspect list to get to as WIDM did finish this week. We had a reveal of Dan as the mole, which means that I was the winner of our pool, thankfully. 4 people, Walter, Elijah, Andrew, and James, all had Dan as their first suspicion. And unfortunately, due to the tiebreaker rule, Fuzzy doesn't win. She did have Dan as her first suspicion, but as we all well know, she only wins if she wins outright and not as part of a tie. And Walter did also have Bram as number 2 for a perfect finish for the season. On suspect list bonus questions, Dan's group was released in the first round in the cabins. He spun the wheel second. He got a yoker in the club. He was in safe zone B. He voted for sitting at other tables on Deja Vu. He was told the story in the final round. He met Bram after his 3 questions. He went underwater for the quiz, and Bram was the winner. Talking of winners, the winner of the suspect list is, with a perfect score of 130, it's our good friend Tim from the Mall, Ohio. And unfortunately, due to the tiebreaker rule again, Fuzzy loses. She had a perfect score, and yet, unfortunately, we can't give you the win, Fuzzy. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
In equal third are Andrew, Elijah, and Walter. And then we have Molly on 123, Jason on 115, TV's Michael Armstrong on 112, Annika on 108, and Mateus on 103 as our top 10. Bindles was 17th, and Logan Saunders was 25th.
I won.
Of a possible 35 people.
I'm sorry. How many people did worse than Logan?
It's 35 total, and Saunders got 25, so yeah, 10.
I feel good with that.
2 of those people got 0 because they didn't submit. So it's 33, really. Was Logan the lowest person who submitted every week? I think he probably was.
Hey. Don't take this away from me.
We're not playing potato golf.
Yeah, unfortunately, Saunders, you are the worst person to have completed all 9 weeks of this. Your highest score for any week was 8 when you play your yoga.
I didn't even know it was possible to get scores that low.
Yeah. Also, hello to Andrew, who has literally just messaged on Discord to say that he only didn't win suspect list because he got the final bonus question wrong. He did, unfortunately, Andrew. You would have been equal first with Tim from Mol, Ohio.
And not Fuzzy.
Yeah, and not Fuzzy, obviously, caused tiebreaker. Flanders suspicions last week were Isabel on 28%, Wout on 23%, Yannis on 17%, Maxim on 17%, and Julie on 15%. And the Cafe de Mol suspicions this week meant that Wout took the lead for the first time on 28%. Isabel and Maxim were tied on 26%, and Julie on 20%. Final 2 questions. Who do we suspect, and who is gonna go home right before the finale?
So my suspect list: Julie, then Maxim, then Wout. Although evidence is looking pretty damning at this point. Then Isabel, and then I had Yannis last. And I really, really, really want Wout to go home next.
No, you don't. Stop being a prick, horse boy.
See, it's not easy to call him by an actual name, is it?
I'm trying to make it stick so that Gilles calls it him this year.
My suspect list is basically the same as it has been for half the season. Wout, Isabel, Julie, Maxim. I'm going to say I really want Wout to go home next week, but...
No, you don't, you prick.
No, I do, because then I get to laugh at both of you losing your entire teams before I lose anyone.
But you don't get to laugh because you're in the same boat as me.
I don't care if it's funny.
We've noticed.
Okay, let's work this out. I think Isabel's winning. I feel like Maxim might be going home next week.
I genuinely think suspect list this season is going to be determined by next week's bonus question. I'm going to say that now. I think there's a fair few people on WoW. I obviously have seen first suspicions. I know roughly how many people would win if WoW is the mole. I think it's going to be determined by who selects the correct winner next week. My suspect list, again, hasn't changed for weeks. It's Wout, Maxim, Isabel, and Julie in that order. I think Maxim's going because I'm pretty sure that Julie wins. I'm pretty sure she has been on Wout the longest. Interestingly, and this may sway you slightly, Saunders, there has been a clue spotted for Wout now. And it's a fairly hefty clue, and it's the sort of clue that they would do. In that every single episode so far, including this week, has featured one Dutch idiom to do with plants, gardening, that sort of thing, and he's a gardener.
Mm.
I have to say thank you to Mayor28 and Grant Server for doing the hard work so I don't have to. But week 1's was he doesn't let the grass grow over it. Rough translations, obviously. Week 2 was but the candidates are still watching the cat out of the tree. Week 3 was to keep seeing the trees through the forest. Week 4 was the main street in Terrena is sown with books. Week 5 was the apple clearly doesn't fall far from the tree. And week 6 was tonight the little flowers are being put outside. Also, as I pointed out at the start of this episode, Isabel is shown saying an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I think, and I know I have a horrible history of being very tunneled by this point of the season and then being very wrong. I think I am tunneled on the right mole for the first time in years.
Can I be honest? That seems like a silly clue.
That is a perfect response. I know I came into this season being very pig-headed, going, I'm going to keep with my mole until I'm wrong. But I think I've tunneled on the right person for the first time since Germany. So yeah, we'll see in 2 weeks. But just know, even if you switched to WoW at this point, I am going to take the piss for you not thinking it was him for the first 6 weeks.
All aboard, choo-choo, etc.
Yeah. Anything else to say about this episode?
No, I'm good.
Nope. I think I'm good.
In that case, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 14 recap. We'll be back next week to continue the hunt for all the newest mole in Portugal. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much any social media platform that isn't TikTok, where we're RTV Warriors, or you can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors and give us your suspects by playing Suspect List at the link in our bio. And as we've just proven with WIDM, you don't have to play every week to beat Logan Saunders. It's very, very easy at this point. Thank you, as always, to the Legion of Subtitlers. We'll see you next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.
Who wants to lick the beta?